Okay? So the United States struck Iran, hit the nuclear facilities, wiped them out, and then agreed to a ceasefire. And right when that ceasefire was announced, guess what the Iranian president did? He went on national television and called it, remember this, a major victory. Then Iran's supreme leader stood up and said, the American attacks achieved nothing meaningful. He said America gained nothing. He said Iran will never surrender. Now you're sitting at home thinking, wait a minute, you just got bombed. Your nuclear sites are destroyed. Millions of your own people fled your cities. And you're calling this a victory? Here's the thing. They might actually be right. Today I'm going to walk you through exactly why, step by step. Because if you believe America came out ahead in the ceasefire, what I'm about to show you will seriously make you think twice. If you are finding this helpful, please hit subscribe. Many of you already know what has been going on with the channel. If you want to support, there is a link in the description. I have spent months researching what is unfolding between 2026 and 2030. I put it all into an ebook called The Next Global Shift. How to stay ahead of economic collapse and war, the economies, the conflicts, the decisions that matter. Link in the description if you want it. But first, let us go back to the beginning. Because to understand why Iran may have already won, you need to understand what Iran's actual strategy is. Iran does not have a military anywhere close to America's. They know they cannot fight the United States in a straight-up war and win. So instead, for decades, Iran built something called the Axis of Resistance. What is that exactly? It is a web of allies spread all across the Middle East. Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, armed factions in Iraq, and for a long time, the Assad government in Syria. The idea is pretty straightforward. You cannot punch America directly because America is too strong. But what you can do is push them from every direction at once so they can never get comfortable, never pull back, never shift their focus somewhere else, like Russia or China. Iran's goal was never to beat America on a battlefield. Iran's goal is to keep America trapped, keep America slowly draining money and military attention in the Middle East forever. That is the whole strategy. So let us ask ourselves honestly, did this ceasefire help Iran run that strategy, or did it stop it? June 2025 is where everything blows up. On June 13, 2025, Israel launches what they call Operation Rising Lion. Over 200 fighter jets deployed, and that is not a small number, flying nearly 25,000 sorties over 12 days. They hit more than 100 Iranian sites, nuclear facilities, military bases. They take out key scientists and senior commanders. For Israel, this is the moment they have been building toward for decades. Iran fires back with something they call Operation True Promise 3. And here is where it gets interesting. Iran launches around 550 ballistic missiles and roughly 1,000 drones at Israel over those 12 days. That is an enormous number of weapons. About 90% are shot down. Israel's defenses mostly hold, but here's the part that does not get nearly enough attention. 31 missiles got through. They struck a power station, an oil refinery in Haifa, and a university. 28 Israelis were killed, almost all civilians. Over 3,000 were injured, and more than 9,000 people were forced out of their homes. On Iran's side, the damage is much worse. Somewhere between 160 and 190 Iranians are killed by Israeli strikes, nearly 5,000 injured. And here is one detail that should really stick with you. Around 9 million people fled Tehran and other major cities toward the northern provinces. 9 million people just running. Can you picture that? Then on June 22nd, 3 days before the ceasefire, the United States steps into the war directly. American planes drop bunker buster bombs on Natanz, Fordow, and Isfahan, Iran's most prized nuclear facilities. The Institute for the Study of War later concludes that those strikes severely damaged Iran's nuclear enrichment capability for the foreseeable future. So by the time the ceasefire comes, Iran has lost nuclear sites, top commanders, and roughly half of its entire ballistic missile stockpile, either launched at Israel or destroyed in Israeli strikes. That sounds like a massive defeat, right? Keep that in mind because we're coming back to it. Now here's where things get truly remarkable, because the ceasefire itself is almost hard to believe. On June 23rd, Iran fires 14 missiles at Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, one of the most critical American bases in the entire Middle East. Nobody is killed. And what does Trump do? He goes on social media and thanks Iran for the very weak response. Basically signaling, okay, let us talk. That same evening, Trump announces a ceasefire brokered through Qatar. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi comes out right away and says, hold on, there's no formal agreement. But he says Iran will stop attacking if Israel stops by 4 a.m. Tehran time. That is not exactly a surrender. The next morning, the ceasefire nearly collapses entirely. Iran keeps firing missiles into northern Israel. Iran claims Israeli strikes are still hitting their side, and Israel is reportedly gearing up for a massive retaliatory strike. And here is one single detail that tells you everything about who actually had leverage here. Trump reportedly pressures Netanyahu to call off that major strike. Israel ends up hitting just one radar site near Tehran, a tiny fraction of what they had planned. America, the most powerful country on earth, talks Israel down from its own retaliation. And then the ceasefire holds. And immediately, every single side declares victory. Trump says victory for everyone. Netanyahu calls it a historic victory that will stand for generations. Pezeshkian, the Iranian president, says great victory. And Khamenei says America gained nothing. So who is actually telling the truth? Here's what I really want you to understand. Winning a war is not just about who loses more soldiers or whose buildings take more damage. That is not how it works in today's world. Point one, the regime survived, and survival is the whole game for Iran. Israel and America went in with a clear goal: destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities, devastate its military. They did real damage, no doubt about that, but the Islamic Republic of Iran is still standing. Khamenei is still in power. The government did not fall. And from a Shia perspective, a culture that has always seen itself as a persecuted minority willing to sacrifice and endure, surviving a direct attack from the world's most powerful military, and its strongest ally is not spin. That is a genuine victory. That is truly how they see the world. Point two, Iran completely flipped the nuclear oversight story. After the ceasefire, Iran's parliament votes to end all cooperation with the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. Iran signals it may leave the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty altogether. Think about what that actually means. Iran entered this conflict with a damaged nuclear program and exits with less international oversight than it had before. How exactly is that a loss for Iran's nuclear ambitions long term? Point three, look at what happened to America's story of stepping back from the Middle East. For years, Washington talked about pivoting away from the region, focusing on China, shrinking its footprint. That idea is dead. By 2024, the United States already had more than 10,000 troops spread across Bahrain, Iraq, Israel, Jordan, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and beyond, plus 2 aircraft carrier groups. Does that look like a country leaving the region? By 2025 and into 2026, America is more deeply dug in than ever. More troops, more carriers, presidential visits, high-stakes diplomacy. America is stuck. And that is exactly what Iran's strategy was built to achieve. But here's the part that really closes the argument, because the 12-day war was just Act 1. By early 2026, the United States and Israel are openly at war with Iran, and Iran plays its most powerful card, the Strait of Hormuz. What is the Strait of Hormuz? It is a narrow waterway in the Persian Gulf. About 20% of all the oil consumed in the entire world passes through it every single day, plus roughly 20% of the world's liquefied natural gas. In early 2026, Iran's Revolutionary Guard declares it closed. They threaten to set any ship trying to pass on fire. At least 5 tankers are damaged, 2 people killed, and around 150 ships stranded. More than 90% of normal oil and refined product flows are blocked. What happens to oil prices? They shoot past $100 a barrel. Some analysts see them hitting $150 if the closure holds. By April 5th, 2026, Brent crude is around $110 and US crude around $113. Every American driver feels it at the gas pump. The International Energy Agency, whose entire job is stabilizing global oil markets, has to release a record 400 million barrels of emergency crude reserves just to try to slow things down. And here's the part I really want you to sit with. The United States sends a 15-point ceasefire proposal to Iran through Pakistan as a go-between. The proposal asks Iran to accept limits on its nuclear program, restrictions on its missiles, and guaranteed free passage through the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for some sanctions relief. Iran rejects it flat out and sends back a counterproposal demanding that the United States recognize Iranian sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz and pay war reparations. Now you tell me, who holds the leverage in that negotiation? I know what you are thinking right now. You are thinking, but Iran lost so much, their nuclear program is badly damaged, roughly half their ballistic missile stockpile is gone. Their proxy network, Hamas gutted in Gaza, Hezbollah hit hard in Lebanon, Assad Syria wrecked since 2023, thousands of Iranians are dead. You are right. All of that is true and it matters. But here's what you have to weigh against it. 6 American soldiers are killed in the 2026 war. Oil is trading above $100 a barrel, hitting the wallets of every retired American on a fixed income and every family at the pump. The United States is now sending thousands of Marines and paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division into the region on top of the forces already there. And America went into all of this with the stated goal of eliminating Iran as a strategic threat. Iran is still there, still fighting, still holding the key to the world's most important oil choke point. And here's the last thing I want you to think about. The next time a government somewhere in the world is considering standing up to the United States, they will look at what happened here. They will see that Iran absorbed the full force of American and Israeli air power and did not fall. That story does not go away, it spreads. Winning and losing in geopolitics is not like a football game. There's no final buzzer, no trophy handed out at the end. The real question you have to ask is this: whose long-term goals move forward and who's got pushed back? America went in wanting to end Iran's nuclear threat. The sites are damaged, but Iran now operates with less international nuclear oversight than before. America wanted to stabilize the region. Instead, it is more entangled than it has been in years. America wanted oil prices low, but right now, oil is around $110 a barrel, and American families are paying for it. Iran wanted to survive a direct fight with the most powerful military on earth. It survived. Iran wanted to keep America stuck in the Middle East. America is more stuck than ever. Iran wanted to show the world that simply being stronger does not automatically mean you win. That message has been sent. Now, I am not saying this is over. The war is still going. There are real questions about whether the Iranian economy and its people can absorb the long-term damage, whether the axis of resistance can rebuild, whether the regime itself can hold together under all this pressure. But the ceasefire, America accepting the terms Iran is now demanding in exchange for peace, oil prices hitting American households right now, that does not look like a picture of a country that lost. That is the video for today. If you want the ebook, link is in the description.